Hi guys, in this video I'm going to explain how to create this AI agent as you can see here. Um, so we have this chat. I will explain it using the built-in chat, but you can switch this to a Telegram chat, WhatsApp chat, whatever you need, right? And then here we have the AI agent. And for this, we'll use OpenAI for the embeddings and Pinecone for the vector. I'm going to explain that later on in the video. So we will store the files in Google Drive, and then we will send those files to Pinecone. So for example, I have another one here. This is the one that I'm going to explain first. So we have this second one, and here we have Google Drive, and we will save the files in the Google Drive, and then we want to download them in certain intervals, and then we send that to Pinecone, right? So this is the first workflow that I'm going to explain, and then we jump to this one. So just to show you how it works, how it will look like at the end. For example, what's the price of the outputs based on the invoice? Uh, so you can see, give us $5. So basically, what I did was just took the message and then check for the invoices that we had here in the Google Drive, and then based on that, gave us a response, which is just $5. So I'm going to explain this now. All right, guys. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we need to set up Google Drive first. So this is the workflow. The idea here is that we have some files in Google Drive. Every time that there is a new file, this trigger will trigger, and it will download the file and send that to Pinecone, right? We use here the embeddings so we can split that data, and then that's pretty much a trigger that is running. I mean, you can set it up to run every 10 minutes, every day, every week, depending on how often you upload data. Okay, so this is the test I created. You just go to Google Drive and you create a folder, and then you can upload the data there. For example, this is the one that I'm going to test here. I just found it randomly in the internet. It's a sample invoice. So you can see we have some items here with prices, quantities, and subtotals. So this is the question that we're gonna ask the bot, the chatbot. All right, so let's start from scratch. But before I do this, I want to explain. So this is self-hosted, right? So we're not using the n8n cloud. So you can run this quickly. You can install this using Docker. So you can just type like Docker and like this. You go to the first one. And then here you just need to copy this and paste it in the terminal, right? So I'm gonna show you here how I can do it. Let me create a terminal for you. Yeah, so for example, we are here in the terminal. You literally just paste that. Yeah, pretty much what it's getting is like download the volume and then create this folder, right? So we can save the data. And this is just for running the Docker in your computer. Below you can find a video where I'm explaining how you can deploy this in the cloud so you can have it running. Yeah, in this case I'm gonna do it locally, but just go to that video so you can see how it works. So you just click enter, and well, in this case I already have the volume, so it's saying that doesn't work. And then here is runs the second command, which is this one, right? So I just need to go to this one and go here, paste it, and it will take me to the page. If it is the first time that you're doing this, it will take you to the sign in page. So you need to put your email, password, and just a typical sign in process. So okay, so we're here, right? And then so let's do it from scratch. So you just create a workflow, and then here you go to Google Drive. We need to set up the trigger. So we have these two triggers, right? So it's gonna be on change involving a specific folder. So you select that, and then here you need to connect to Google Drive. It takes a little bit of work to do that, so I created a video also apart from this one that is gonna explain everything how to do the connection. So it's just down below in the comments, in the description. Go there. It's 1 minute. Quickly you can connect. Okay. But in this case, I already have the connection. Um, Actually, yeah, I already have the connection, and then here you can select how often do you have this trigger to be running, how often pulling the files and updating Pinecone. So I mean, you can set up to whatever, as I mentioned, how often you're uploading files, but in this case, I just put it like, I don't know, every week. And then here, yeah, changes involving a specific folder, and then here we need to select the folder. In this case, I already have this one here, right? The one that I created for this test. And then here for watch for files created, and that's it. So you can test it just to like to see file created, fetch test event. So you can see it loaded one, which is this one here, this invoice sample. You can see the name. What is it? Name. Yeah, name invoice sample. So we can pin the data here, so it doesn't need to be pulling data every time that I run a test. Just gonna use the last one that I pin here. Okay, so we have the trigger. Now we need to download that file, right? So we can split it and send it to Pinecone. So again, Google Drive, and then here download a file. And here, the only thing that we need to do, well, if it is the first time, you gotta connect again. But I mean, if you already did a connection, it's gonna be by default. So you just leave it like that. And then here from list, you're gonna change that to by ID. And the idea is that we're gonna get the file, the new file, right? The new files that are being they were uploaded to Google Drive. So you use this one here, ID. Just gonna drag and drop like that. Okay, that works. That's it. So we can test it. Okay, good. So we have it here. Okay, so that's it for Google Drive. So now we need to connect to Pinecone. So you click here and then you look up for it, Pinecone. And then here you select the second one, add documents to vector store. So here we need to also create a connection with Pinecone. So basically you just go to Pinecone, select the first one, and then you can just log in, right? Well, if it is the first time, you need to sign up. Okay, so I logged in, and here, these are just some tests. You can ignore this. So once you're here, you just create an index, and you can give it a name. So let's put n8n, and then here in configuration, you select this one here. As I mentioned, we're gonna we will use OpenAI's embedding. So select this one, embedding 3 small. Here in the dimension, this is important. You gotta put it as 1536. You can select the difference between these two is just how accurate you want this model to be. Because when you are embedding this stuff, like you are literally like splitting the data in blocks, right? So the larger the block is, the more context the model has to answer questions, right? So in this case, if we use this one, well, the block is going to be larger. But of course, like the larger, the more resources it uses. So this Pinecone will charge you more in case you're paying, right? Yeah, but the default in n8n is 1536, so we're just gonna leave it like that. Then we can just leave this like this, doesn't matter. And then, yeah, that's it, create index. So now we have the index, we need to get the API key so we can make the connection. Pretty simple. You go here on the left, API keys, create an API key, give it a name, that's it, create key. Then you copy that. And then you go back to n8n, and here you create a new credential, and then you just paste the API key, save, it's gonna do a test. Okay, you're connected. That's great. So now, okay, so operation mode, insert documents. In Pinecone index, you select the one that we just created, which is n3 in my case, and then we can leave this as is, and then that's it, right? So you go back. Okay, so now we need two more connections. So the first one is embedding. So here embedding, as I mentioned, we will use embeddings OpenAI. So We use that one. Then we need to create a connection here. Same thing. You gotta get the API key down below in the comment in the description. You can see I have a video, a quick video, 1 minute video, how you can get the API key. Pretty straightforward. Once you have that connection, for example, you create a new credential, you paste the API key, similar to what we did with Pinecone. Close. And then here, what will be the model? Same one that you chose here in Python, which is this one, text embedding 3 small. Remember? And that's it. Now we need to go back, and then we need to select what will be the document loader. We can just select the default one, which is this one, default data loader, text splitting. So here we need to change this to this one here, recursive character text splitter. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, guys. So this is the first workflow, and now every time that there is something new, like this trigger is gonna be happening, I put it like every week, right? Every week it's gonna check if there are new files, and then it's gonna download those files, and it's gonna send them to Pinecone. And then this is like the data, like the database, right? We have all the data, and then the chatbot is gonna check this data to be replying to our questions. So every week is gonna be getting new data, so it's gonna be more accurate. That's pretty much the logic behind this, right? But yeah, you can change this to be more often if you want. It's up to you. Okay, guys. So now we're gonna do the second workflow. As I mentioned, this is the chatbot itself, right? So the first model is the trigger. What would be the trigger? In this case, it's gonna be a chat, right? So chat trigger. Well, in this case, we can test it, but nothing happens, right? Hi, because there's nothing, right? But it's working. This chat, you can switch it to like whatever you want, right? Like can be a Telegram message, a WhatsApp message, whatever you want. So in this case, I will use the one by default here. But yeah, you can switch this trigger to whatever you want. Now we need to select AI here, and then AI agent. And then here, you just go back, and then we need to make 3 connections. So what will be the chat model? Again, we will use OpenAI, which is this one. Make the connection. What will be the model? Well, we can select. You can select whatever model you want, right? The logic is like the more accurate, the better the model, the more expensive it is, the tokens in OpenAI, right? So, but one that I like is this one, mini. This one here, I like it. I think it's cheap and it's accurate enough. So you select that, and then here we need the memory. So here's the logic of the memory. Is pretty straightforward, right? Like how large we want the memory of the model to be, right? So the larger, it will remember more things. However, it's gonna have more data in the database, so more resources, more if you're paying. But if you're using a open source database, well, that will help. Otherwise, you can use any other database that you need to pay. In this case, I'm just gonna use the sample memory here. And then what will be the length of messages that will remember? 5 messages, right? So if you say like hi, and then next message is hi, how are you? And the next message, he will remember that already asked that, so good on you, stuff like that. And then we need what will be the tool. So this will be like the indication of what it needs to do, right? In this case, it needs to answer questions. This one here, vector star question answer tool. This is the one that we will use. And then here we need to make give the input to the model. Call this tool when a customer has a question, and you need to provide an answer to that person. Yeah, so pretty much what I'm telling you here is like, if you receive a question, check the vector star, and then based on that data, reply to the customer or whoever is asking the question, right? Okay, so we have the prompt. So now what will be the vector star? The vector star is Pinecone, right? This one here. So you do the connection, and then here was the vector. Again, this is the one that we created, n8 and 3, and then that's it. So we go back to canvas. Then here, this like this. Then here, what will be the embedding? We will use OpenAI's, right? Again, select here small. This is the one that we are using. And then we need to make one more, which is this one here. What will be the model to be used? Again, we are using just OpenAI here, but you can switch this to Grok, DeepSeek, whatever, right? So let's choose the same model that I chose before. Oh, mini, this one here. All right, so let's do a test and see if it is working. So let's see, let's make a question. So yeah, like what's the price of apples, right? I would say it's gonna should return 5. And yeah, so what's the price of apples? Base invoice. Yeah. So you see it's getting the data now. All right, guys, as you saw, it wasn't working. He was saying that I didn't have access to a Google Drive. So I did some debugging and I noticed that I forgot to mention something. So let's go back to the first workflow, which was this one. As you remember here in this mode, default data loader, we chose JSON, right? So switch that to binary and that will work. So if you switch to binary and then you go back and you execute the workflow, you will see that the response is actually what is in the invoice here, right? That's because that's how the data is used in Pinecone, binary instead of JSON, okay? So I forgot to mention that, so that's why it was throwing that error. But now, if we go back to save, and if we go back to a workflow 3, and here in Pinecone vector store, you chose the one that we had. Okay, let's do another test. So we can ask what's the total of the invoice. In the invoice, so it's 39. So let's see. It's the total price in the invoice. So you can see 39.60. So yeah, that's pretty much how you can create a rack AI agent here in n8n. Creativity, you can add more things to the chat here, how to trigger the chat or make this more complex, right? And just depending on the complexity, but like this is like the fundamentals. And from here I think you can do a lot of things and you can automate a lot of things in your business. Okay, thanks for watching.